Life is a journey filled with challenges, struggles, and inevitable loss. For many actors who brought the Blues Brothers, 1980, to life, their paths were marked by triumphs and tragedies alike. Over the years, 25 members of the film's cast have faced battles with illness, endured personal hardships, and ultimately succumbed to the passage of time. Some fought long and painful battles against disease, while others were taken suddenly, leaving behind legacies that continue to inspire. This video honors their contributions and remembers the difficult realities they faced beyond the screen, shedding light on the human fragility that even fame cannot shield against. John Belushi's portrayal of Joliet Jake Blues in The Blues Brothers, 1980, left an indelible mark on cinema, thanks to his electrifying energy and charismatic performance. At 31, Belushi's portrayal of Jake Blues captured the character's humor, powerful voice, and explosive presence, becoming one of the most iconic performances of the era. As a star of Saturday Night Live and Animal House, Belushi quickly emerged as one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars. However, his fame and success were tempered by personal struggles. Married to childhood sweetheart Judith Jacklin, his marriage deteriorated due to his addiction and increasingly erratic behavior. As Belushi's dependence on drugs deepened, he pushed away those who tried to help him, sinking further into the grip of heroin and cocaine. Despite multiple attempts at rehabilitation, he remained surrounded by enablers rather than supporters, and his mind, once sharp and focused, was clouded by addiction in his final days. On March 5, 1982, at the age of 33, Belushi was found dead in a bungalow at the Chateau Marmont from a drug overdose. His untimely death cut short a promising career, leaving fans to mourn the loss of a talented performer whose potential was overshadowed by tragedy. Cab Calloway, at 73, brought his legendary musical talent and undeniable charm to the role of Curtis in The Blues Brothers, 1980. Known for his captivating performance of Minnie the Moocher, Calloway infused the character with the wisdom and charisma of a seasoned gatekeeper. A true icon of the Harlem Renaissance, Calloway's contributions to jazz were monumental, having once led the famed Cotton Club and brought swing music to its peak. Yet as the era of swing music faded, Calloway faced personal and professional struggles. Despite a marriage lasting over 50 years to Zoe Calloway, the pressures of touring, financial difficulties, and infidelity eventually led to a fractured relationship. His children grew up with their father's image on record covers rather than through daily interactions, and as his health declined, Calloway became increasingly aware of his fading legacy. After suffering several strokes in his later years, the artist who once commanded the stage found himself trapped in a frail body, unable to perform the music that had defined his life. Cab Calloway passed away on November 18, 1994, at the age of 86, leaving behind a profound legacy in the world of jazz and a sense of loss among fans and musicians alike. Kathleen Freeman, at the age of 57, brought her unique combination of sternness and humor to the role of Sister Mary Stigmata in The Blues Brothers, 1980, making her performance one of the film's standout moments. With over 50 years in the entertainment industry, Freeman was a familiar face in both film and television, often collaborating with comedy legends. However, despite her professional success, Freeman led a solitary personal life, never marrying or having children, and dedicating herself wholly to her craft. In her later years, as opportunities for acting grew fewer, Freeman faced health challenges, including a diagnosis of lung cancer. Despite her illness, she continued to work, demonstrating the same commitment and resilience that defined her career. On August 23, 2001, Freeman passed away at the age of 78, leaving behind a body of work that enriched the lives of many through her wit, humor, and unwavering dedication to her art. James Brown, at 47, gave an electrifying performance as Reverend Cleophas James in The Blues Brothers, 1980, showcasing his signature gospel-infused energy and musical genius. Known as the Godfather of Soul, Brown's career revolutionized the music industry with hits that shaped the landscape of rhythm and blues. However, behind the scenes, Brown's life was marred by turmoil. His personal life, including 3 tumultuous marriages, was filled with allegations of domestic violence, drug abuse, and legal troubles. Brown's erratic behavior and troubled relationships with his children were overshadowed by his legendary career. As he aged, Brown faced financial difficulties and declining health, with pneumonia leaving him frail and unable to speak. On December 25, 2006, at 73, James Brown passed away alone in an Atlanta hospital, his final days a stark contrast to the vibrant, unstoppable force he once was on stage. His death marked the end of an era for soul music, leaving fans and the music world to reflect on the incredible yet troubled legacy he left behind. Carrie Fisher played the mysterious woman in The Blues Brothers, 1980, at 24, embodying a vengeful ex-fiancée with relentless determination, making the character both dangerous and humorous. Off-screen, she was the daughter of two Hollywood legends, Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, but her life was far from as glamorous as the spotlight. Fisher struggled with addiction from a young age, using drugs as an escape from bipolar disorder and the pressures of fame. Her passionate but turbulent marriage to musician Paul Simon ended in divorce, and though she deeply loved her daughter Billie Lourd, Fisher often felt isolated. Nevertheless, she maintained her sharp sense of humor and built an impressive writing career, leaving a mark with her candid works about her own life. However, her ongoing battles with addiction and depression never left her. On December 27, 2016, at 60, Fisher suffered a heart attack on a flight from London to Los Angeles. Although she was taken to the hospital, she never regained consciousness. Toxicology reports later revealed traces of cocaine, heroin, and other substances in her body, a painful reminder of the lifelong struggles of the talented yet tragic actress. Donald "Duck" Dunn played himself in The Blues Brothers, 1980, at 39, delivering an emotional and subtle bass performance that created the film's signature rhythm. A legendary musician, Dunn spent his life on tour, performing with great names, but his career also meant sacrificing personal stability. His long marriage to wife June endured, but constant travel and performances made him more at home on stage than with his family. Despite the physical pressures of traveling and working tirelessly, Dunn refused to stop. Even in his later years, he continued performing worldwide, never truly resting. On May 13, 2012, while on tour in Tokyo, he played his final performance before returning to his hotel and passing away in his sleep at the age of 70 from natural causes. Though his bass shaped the sound of many generations, he passed away far from home, like a true road warrior, living life for music until the end. John Candy portrayed the kind-hearted parole officer Burton Mercer in The Blues Brothers, 1980, at 30, bringing warmth and humor to the character, making him one of the most memorable faces in the film. Off-screen, Candy was a beloved comedian, but his personal life was filled with deep struggles. Haunted by insecurity and the pressure to maintain an image, he sought comfort in food, leading to a lifelong battle with obesity and serious health issues. Though he had a happy marriage with Rosemary Hober and 2 children, his hectic work schedule and enormous workload left him physically and mentally drained. Despite attempts to change his lifestyle, years of stress and unhealthy habits took their toll. On March 4, 1994, while filming Wagons East in Mexico, he suddenly suffered a heart attack while sleeping, passing away at 43. His sudden death left his family and fans grieving, marking a tragic end to a man who devoted his life to making others laugh while silently struggling with his own inner demons. Judith Belushi Pisano played the waitress, Judy Jacklin, in The Blues Brothers, 1980, at 29, a small but highly personal role in the film, deeply tied to her life. As the wife of John Belushi, she witnessed his shining career and stood by him during Hollywood's golden years. However, fame came with severe consequences. She had to watch her husband spiral into addiction, unable to save him from the dark path that would take his life just 2 years later. The grief was unbearable, and though she tried to rebuild her life, the weight of John's legacy always loomed over her. Judith worked to preserve John's memory, writing about their life together and producing projects to honor him, but the shadow of tragedy never fully faded. In her later years, she spent time confronting the loss and longing, forever tied to a man who burned too brightly and too quickly. Judith Belushi Pisano passed away on July 5, 2024, at 73, leaving behind a legacy of love and tragedy. Paul Reubens played the quirky waiter in The Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 28, bringing his signature quirky humor that would later make him famous for his role as Pee Wee Herman. Although it was a minor role, this character paved the way for his major success in the 1980s. However, Reubens' career was interrupted in 1991 when he was arrested in an adult movie theater. This scandal caused his reputation to collapse and severely damaged his career. Though he later attempted a comeback, the stigma and impact of the scandal lingered with him throughout his life. Reubens never married and led a very private life, frequently struggling with depression and the psychological scars left by the public. In his final years, he silently battled cancer, never revealing it to his audience. On July 30, 2023, he passed away at the age of 70, leaving fans shocked as they were unaware of the silent suffering he endured. While his legacy is laughter and memorable moments, his personal life was one of loneliness, missed opportunities, and a career haunted by endless controversies. John Lee Hooker played Street Slim in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 63, bringing an incredible authenticity with his deep blues background and legendary status. As one of the revolutionary figures in blues music, he changed the face of the genre, but he also struggled throughout his life with unfair contracts and an industry that took more than it gave. Despite his fame, he never found stability in his personal life, with complex relationships and a broken family, having fathered many children but being estranged from most of them. The relentless touring left him isolated, and although his career saw a resurgence in the 1990s, the struggles of earlier decades still haunted him. As he grew older, diabetes and other health issues began to take a serious toll on his body, and in his final years, he lived in near isolation, rarely appearing in public. On June 21, 2001, John Lee Hooker passed away in his sleep at the age of 83. Although honored as a blues icon, his final years were marked by loneliness, illness, and a life filled with sorrow, reflected in the songs he composed. Henry Gibson played head Nazi in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 45, combining menace with quirky humor, making his character both frightening and funny. A seasoned actor, Gibson first gained fame on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In and spent much of his career playing eccentric or villainous roles. Though he had memorable performances in Nashville, 1975, and The Burbs, 1989, he never fully achieved widespread recognition in the film industry. Gibson married Lois Geiger in 1966, and although their marriage lasted until his death, his busy and stressful career created distance from his family, resulting in emotional separation from their 3 sons. His final years were difficult as his health declined due to cancer. Though he continued acting, Gibson's energy dwindled, and he gradually withdrew from Hollywood. On September 14, 2009, he passed away at the age of 73, with much of his career forgotten in an industry that had changed. His final years were marked by illness and sorrow, as his career never reached the heights he deserved. Aretha Franklin played the soul food cafe owner in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 38, delivering one of the film's most iconic musical performances. Though hailed as the Queen of Soul, her personal life was filled with suffering and challenges. She gave birth to her first child at age 12 and endured abusive relationships, including an unstable marriage to Ted White. Her second marriage to Glynn Turman also ended in divorce, and throughout her life, she struggled with depression and weight-related health issues. Despite being an international music icon, Aretha Franklin faced financial troubles and family disputes in her later years. Legal battles over her estate began before her death. Diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, she fought courageously but ultimately could not overcome the illness. On August 16, 2018, Aretha Franklin passed away at the age of 76. Her final years were overshadowed by suffering, family chaos, and her once powerful voice that had shaped generations gradually fading away. Ray Charles played Ray in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 50, bringing his unmatched musical talent and charm to the role of a blind but sharp record store owner. While his character in the film was joyful, it also reflected the real struggles of his life, the ability to see potential in others symbolizing the resilience he carried through his turbulent life. As a pioneer of soul music, Charles produced timeless hits like Georgia on My Mind and Hit the Road Jack, but behind the fame, he struggled with heroin addiction for nearly 2 decades. Though he married Della Beatrice Howard Robinson in 1955, repeated infidelities and drug abuse led to their divorce in 1977. He fathered 12 children with multiple women, but his relationships with them grew strained due to his career and personal demons. Though he overcame addiction in the 1960s, his health deteriorated over time. In the early 2000s, he was diagnosed with liver disease and passed away on June 10, 2004, at the age of 73. His death marked the loss of a music legend who changed the soul music landscape and left an eternal musical legacy. Steve Lawrence played Maurice Line in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 45, a clever and agile music promoter who helps organize the band's performance with skill and talent. As a popular crooner alongside his wife, Adie Gorm, he dominated stages in the 1950s and 1960s, but as musical trends changed, he struggled to stay relevant. Though his marriage to Adie remained strong, a major tragedy struck in 1986 when their son Michael passed away at the age of 23 from heart failure, a loss he never fully recovered from. Nonetheless, he continued to perform, but his audience gradually dwindled, and he began to retreat from public life. In his later years, Steve Lawrence was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, a condition that gradually erased his memories, including the great career triumphs. On March 7, 2024, he passed away at the age of 88, his final years clouded by confusion, with the brilliant intellect he once had now reduced to shadows of the past. Charles Napier played Tucker McElroy in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 44, an aggressive leader of the Good Old Boys band, relentlessly pursuing Jake and Elwood blues. With strong and sometimes violent roles in famous films like Rambo, First Blood Part 2 and The Silence of the Lambs, Napier made a strong impression on screen, but his career was marked by challenges and near successes. Though often cast in supporting roles, he always yearned for leading roles and major opportunities that never fully materialized. He married Dolores Wilson, but Hollywood ambition and long absences due to work strained their relationship, leading to a divorce. Although he had 2 children, Napier felt distant from them due to his all-consuming dedication to his career while struggling with depression. As he aged, he faced financial instability and declining health, feeling abandoned in an industry he once dominated. On October 5, 2011, he passed away at the age of 75 from a blood clot, leaving behind a career full of untapped potential and a life filled with regrets. Eddie Dono, known fully as Edward Dono, played the SWAT team leader in the Blues Brothers, 1980, at the age of 45, leading a tense chase that added dramatic intensity to the film. As a daring stuntman, he performed many dangerous stunts in blockbuster films like Die Hard and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, often risking his life to create unforgettable scenes. However, his career took a toll as serious injuries from stunts forced him into early retirement. His marriage also fell apart, and he never had children, spending his final years in solitude and obscurity. As Hollywood moved to CGI for stunt work, his expertise was gradually forgotten, and he struggled with financial difficulties. In the early 1990s, he was diagnosed with cancer and quietly fought the disease on his own. On October 19, 2014, he passed away at the age of 79, while much of the industry he had contributed to still overlooked his legacy, and his contributions to iconic action films faded into obscurity. James Avery played the man dancing outside Ray's store in The Blues Brothers, 1980, bringing infectious energy to the film's lively backdrop. However, Avery's personal life was not as easy as his bright roles. Growing up in poverty with a single mother, he longed for a sense of belonging but often felt lonely, even after he became famous. Avery married Barbara Avery, but despite being together for life, their marriage lacked the joy he sought, especially as they were unable to have children. Despite his powerful voice and strong presence, Avery struggled with deep insecurities about his weight and health, including diabetes and high blood pressure. As Hollywood's demands changed, he received fewer roles and quietly withdrew from public life. His health continued to decline, and by the end of 2013, he underwent open heart surgery. However, complications arose, and he passed away on December 31, 2013, at the age of 68. James Avery will always be remembered as a warm man on screen, but his private life was marked by struggles that remained unspoken. Leota Richards played the role of the elegant restaurant patron in The Blues Brothers in 1980, a fitting part for an actress who had spent decades in the shadows of Hollywood. Although she appeared in over 200 films, she remained an anonymous supporting character, and her contributions were rarely acknowledged. Her career spanned many eras, but in an industry that always prioritized young talent, she was gradually sidelined, relegated to silent, unnoticed roles. She married early, but her husband's workaholic career left her feeling lonely and emotionally abandoned. The absence of children only deepened her sense of isolation, and gradually, she witnessed the changes in the industry she had served her entire life. Despite a career spanning over 200 films, she rarely received the recognition she deserved. Her final years were spent in solitude, with memories of a reclusive life and a career that few remembered. On February 7, 1998, Leota Richards passed away at the age of 90 from natural causes, her passing barely noticed, much like her life and career. Norman Matlock played the stern sheriff in The Blues Brothers in 1980, exuding authority and determination in the pursuit of the Blues Brothers. Despite his impressive acting talent, Matlock's career never reached its peak, and he often only received supporting roles in Hollywood films. His strict, disciplined nature deeply affected his personal life, making it difficult for him to connect with his family. Although married with children, the lack of emotional connection created a tense family dynamic, fracturing his relationships with loved ones. As Hollywood evolved, roles became scarcer, and Matlock gradually faded into obscurity, leading a life almost in seclusion. The industry he had once been part of changed, and the final years of his life were marked by declining health and loneliness. On September 30, 2015, Norman Matlock passed away at the age of 90 from natural causes, a man who had dedicated his life to roles of authority but left this world with little recognition. Paul Swearingen played the role of Swimmer in the Blues Brothers in 1980 at the age of 17, bringing a small supporting role in a career filled with disappointments. Though he once dreamed of stardom, he was continuously overlooked and never landed the breakthrough role he craved. Swearingen's personal life mirrored the struggles he faced in his career, with his marriage ending in a bitter divorce that distanced him from his 2 children. The burden of rejection and financial instability led him down the path of alcoholism, which only worsened the troubles in his life. As the film industry continued to evolve without him, Swearingen was gradually forgotten and lived in relative obscurity. His health declined, and the once strong physique of his youth slowly faded after years of stress and neglect. Ultimately, on June 26, 2020, Paul Swearingen suffered a heart attack and passed away in solitude. He, who had once pursued fame and fortune, was ultimately left behind by Hollywood and life itself. Gary McClarty played the toy store man in the Blues Brothers in 1980 at the age of 39, a small supporting role in a film filled with larger-than-life characters. However, McClarty was a legendary stuntman, dedicating his career to facing life-threatening stunts. From high-speed chases to brutal falls, he never hesitated to push his body to the limit, enduring severe injuries, broken bones, and serious trauma. While Hollywood respected his talent, his dangerous career severely impacted his personal life. His marriage fell apart under the pressures of his job, and his only son became estranged, resenting his absence. Struggling with chronic pain, McClarty turned to painkillers and alcohol to cope with both physical and emotional wounds. In his later years, he lived in seclusion, rarely receiving work offers, which left him feeling abandoned by the industry he had dedicated his life to. On October 11, 2014, at the age of 73, McClarty passed away from natural causes, alone and largely forgotten by those he had once served with his fearless performances. Willie "Big Eyes" Smith was the drummer in the Blues Brothers in 1980 at the age of 44, with rhythmic precision that helped drive the movie's lively musical performances. As a devoted blues musician, he spent much of his life on the road, playing in smoky clubs, often barely earning enough to live. The constant touring significantly impacted his personal life, leading to the breakdown of his marriage and his son growing up resenting his absence. Despite playing with legends, fame and fortune never found him, forcing him to struggle financially well into his old age. Though he faced health issues, he continued performing, fearing that stopping would lead to obscurity. However, a series of strokes made drumming increasingly difficult. Still, he persisted, determined to maintain his passion. Ultimately, recognition came to him through a Grammy Award, but by then, his health had deteriorated to the point where he couldn't fully enjoy that victory. Willie "Big Eyes" Smith passed away on September 16, 2011, at the age of 75 from a stroke, leaving behind a respected musical legacy, although he was rarely fully recognized throughout his career. Pinetop Perkins played Luther Jackson in the Blues Brothers in 1980 at the age of 67, bringing a raw, authentic presence that reflected decades of struggle in the blues world. Born into poverty in the American South, where racism and hardship were rampant, Perkins spent much of his youth playing music in smoky bars, barely scraping by. Despite being extremely talented, he often played backup for more famous artists, with his private life just as lonely. He never married, and his children rarely visited. As he grew older, Perkins faced health issues like failing eyesight and arthritis, which curved his fingers, making playing increasingly painful. Still, he kept performing, fearing that stopping would lead to being forgotten. Although he won a Grammy at the age of 97, the joy of victory was bittersweet, as success came too late. Pinetop Perkins passed away on March 21, 2011, at the age of 97 from heart failure, leaving behind a nearly century-long musical legacy, only recognized after a life full of hardship and dedication. Luther "Guitar" Jr. Johnson played guitar in the Blues Brothers in 1980 at the age of 41, with a raw, passionate blues style that brought fiery energy to the film's soundtrack. As a talented musician, he spent decades struggling for recognition in the music industry, watching others achieve fame while he remained in the shadows. His love for music often came at the cost of his personal life, and his wife, feeling abandoned, left him, taking their daughter. Despite his desire to mend family relationships, His relentless touring schedule made it nearly impossible. As he aged, cancer slowly consumed him, but Luther refused to let it define his final years. He continued to play despite his weakened body, unwilling to abandon the music that had sustained him throughout his life. On December 25, 2022, at the age of 83, he passed away from complications of cancer, leaving behind a silent guitar and a name that never reached the heights he had once dreamed of. An artist who was never fully recognized in his lifetime, but whose music lives on in the hearts of those who love the blues. Carolyn Franklin joined the Blues Brothers in 1980, playing a member of the Soul Food Chorus at the age of 36. Her powerful voice added life to the film's musical moments. As the sister of Aretha Franklin, Carolyn lived her entire life in the shadow of a legend, despite her own immense talent. Although she wrote and recorded many songs, Carolyn's career never took off, leaving her feeling like an afterthought in the music industry. She never married and had no children, struggling with loneliness and feelings of helplessness, while depression haunted her, worsened by her sense of never escaping the enormous shadow of her sister. In her later years, Carolyn was diagnosed with breast cancer, but instead of seeking sympathy, she chose to live quietly, away from the public eye. On April 25, 1988, at the age of 43, she quietly passed away from the disease, while her sister, Aretha, continued to dominate the music world. Carolyn's contributions and struggles were rarely known, and she left in silence, leaving behind a legacy that was little recognized. Who is your favorite character in the Blues Brothers? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to not miss any new videos.